And I think for Nola, and I'm taking a stab at this based off of the movie, not the series. I believe her issue is that she does not have consequences because her family provided a great safety net.
Mhm.
That is fine. That's fantastic. But at some point, the safety net does need to be removed, and then you just support when support is needed. And because of that, there is a lack of other awareness and how she impacts people.
Mm.
So I think if she, it's the same thing we talked about, you need to know when you need to get out. It's the same thing for Nola. When you see that these men are wanting something that you're unwilling to give, you also need to get out.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Recycle Podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts, Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
Dr. LaFanya Jones-Hines,
And Dr. Nichelle Wall. Welcome back to session 131, Movie Mental Breakdown. Today we are reviewing She's Gotta Have It, 1986. Today's mood music is brought to you by somebody, It's brought to you by Ronnie Dyson and Bill Lee, which is also Spike Lee's father and in the movie, and is the song Nola.
This movie has a lot of people in there, but not a lot of people at the same time. But of course, Nola is played by Tracy Camilla Johns. Uh, Spike Lee plays Mars, uh, but he has like a Blackman. That's what it is.
Mars
Mars
Blackman.
Blackman. Uh, Jamie is played by Tommy Redford Hicks. Greer is played by John Canada Terrell. Opal is played by Raye Dowell, and Clondria is played by Joie Lee. I think that's how she said it.
Joie or joy. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the movie she says joie.
I think so.
And then Bill Lee plays Nola's father.
Mhm.
Father. Father. I get
Uh-huh.
my words together this morning.
And of course, we can't leave out Epatha Merkerson because she is the therapist in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you have seen her on many law related type of films and shows and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. So y'all know these are my favorite. This movie though was a little, it wasn't quite what I remembered.
It's very artsy, is what.
It is very much so. But that's okay. So we open up with a quote by Zora Neale Hurston, and the movie is also set in black and white,
Mhm.
which I think sets the tone for some things as well. We only have one little color scene in the whole film, uh but there's a quote by her, and I cannot for the life of me, I should have wrote it down, remember what that quote was.
Go watch the movie. Go watch the
Is in the
movie.
very beginning.
Mhm. So Nola's in her bed, she's waking up, and she's giving us kind of like an introduction into her, her sexuality, all of that kind of thing, and how she's not really understood by people around her, and everybody has their own opinion and expectations of, her and her sexuality. And one of the things that I did appreciate and like about this film is her like steadfastness in who she was, how she expressed herself, and even towards, as we kind of talk about the later part of the film, when she started to kind of question some things, like she went back to like, nah,
This is
like
who I am.
this me.
Mhm.
You gonna be okay with it.
It was interesting to me because the first scene, I was thinking like, she was trying to clear her name because she was being described as a freak, a slut, and the 3-letter word. That's really not a 3-letter word. But she started off by saying that she wanted to clear her name, but I'm like, you don't owe anybody an explanation.
Nope.
However you want to live your life, you're a grown woman. You can live your life however you want to.
Yeah. And I think that was part of the issue that she faced. As much as she was standing in her truth, she still was not comfortable in her skin. You know, she was doing the things that she desired, of course, but there was a lack of confidence in what other people thought of her.
Right. And I think that is an example, a good example of people not minding their own business and
That
people putting their mouth on you as a person and character and making you feel
Less than.
less. Yes, I was trying to think of a nice word. Thank you. Less than who you want to even be.
Mhm.
You know,
And it's
she
not
makes
their
that decision.
business.
Yeah.
You know, I get that the people that we are seeing that are assessing her, looking at her life and things of that nature are people that she's intimate with, whether it
Mhm.
is familial and love and that type of intimacy, or if it is sexual, sensual types of intimacy. But at the end of the day, she still doesn't owe any of these people anything as long as she's being honest and truthful with what she is doing. And she was the entire time.
Yeah, that's what I was
Exactly.
getting ready to say, that she was upfront. So there was no confusion. You know, that's one of the things that people always scream that they want. Be upfront with me, tell me the
Mhm.
truth. But then when you do,
You can't handle the truth.
okay, because I'm like, she was very upfront, and not just upfront. She was very open
Yes.
about, oh, I'm on the phone with
So-and-so.
Mars, or you know,
Mhm.
this person's coming over. Like there was no confusion, at least on her part. But people always walk into relationships with their own set of expectations.
Yeah.
So they had this set of expectations on how they wanted her to behave. And it's a struggle when people don't follow the rules that you have in your head.
Yeah. And each man that she is with in this particular film, because it is a little bit different than the series. There was some other things going on in the series, but each man had his own set of norms, his own set of beliefs, and he really uh empowered himself to believe that, but he did not understand that he needed to stop chasing after Nola because she was not what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for all three of them.
And I think
Absolutely.
none of them understood the assignment.
What do you mean by that?
Because their expectation was to be in a relationship. Her expectation was like,
I want to have fun.
right. I'm getting ready to live my life, and I'm gonna live my best life.
Mhm.
And the thing that I liked was that she didn't allow them to detour her decision. I know it's some little parts in the end that she kind of was going that way,
Mhm.
but she snatched herself back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you know, she has three very distinct men that she's,
Very different from each other.
Yes.
I mean, when we say one end to the spectrum to the other, these are vastly different men. So the first one that
Yes.
we're kind of introduced to is Jamie.
Mhm.
And this is the one that really believes that he's, I think out of all three, that truly believes he's in love with her.
Yes.
And I actually thought she would be in a relationship with him. I thought he was gonna convince her, but okay, he
Mhm.
didn't.
Mhm. And they go through this story on how they met and all this, you know, how he kind of chased her. So if you think about the symbolism of them and their story, like even how they met,
Yeah.
like he essentially, I was gonna say stalked, but that's
That's
way too strong.
Yeah.
But
Followed.
he followed her and you
Mhm.
know was searching for her until she kind of caught on that he was following her and kind of ducked off and waited for him to come out the cut. But that's kind of how their story went. There was a little bit of this cat and mouse dynamic that was present between the two of them.
And for her, you know, Jamie provides intimacy and vulnerability and the what we would consider like the mushy stuff of a relationship. So he is emotionally secure for her.
And I think not, and when she's saying intimacy, not sexual, he provides like I'm trying to get to know you. I'm trying
Emotional
to
safety.
yeah, the emotion, the safety, the security, the stability.
That's what I was thinking. He was the middle of the road.
Mhm.
You know, so if he was like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, you know, this one's too hot, this one's too cold, this one's just right, he would have been like close to that, you know, just right version of the three men.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was because I can imagine it was nice to have that balance between, you know, somebody that was very over the top and outgoing like Mars, and then somebody that was very almost traditional slash narcissistic like Greer, and then to have somebody that seemingly on the outside was really all about you. But yeah. And I think one of the things that's difficult is, the whole idea of being, we've talked about this in other sessions, is vulnerability and being ready and willing to receive from another person. While I think she was definitely, she understood her sexuality, I don't think she was in a place where she was ready to receive what they were trying to give.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And only really one was giving her something that she would have really wanted at that level,
Mm-hmm.
because the other two were very immature,
Mm.
In very different ways, but they were immature. So I don't think she would have eventually been able to take the other two very seriously.
Well,
I can't imagine her taking. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, Mars seriously at all.
Oh yeah, no,
No.
I can definitely, because he was very childlike to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even see how he was able to be in the running,
Mm-hmm.
because he just was not. But either way, but I also look at her as well in relationships, because not only did she have, the unstable relate. I don't want to say unstable, because she had the type of relationship she wanted with these men,
Mm-hmm.
but then she also had um relationships with women that didn't seem to, it seemed to be one-sided, because like with her roommate, she didn't respect her roommate's boundaries of like,
Mhm.
don't bring all of the men in the house. What you want to do is what you want to do, but don't bring it to
Mhm.
the apartment or the house or whatnot.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I would even say with Opal, and I don't know if that's more of a boundary issue on Opal's part or a lack of being very firm with her on Nola's part.
Mhm.
That she was not interested, because I believe Opal is a lesbian,
Mhm.
and is interested in Nola, but and she continues to pursue her despite Nola not being interested in her.
Right. Like I really felt like Opal was not respecting the friendship and or the boundary.
I would agree.
Oprah was scary a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She was forceful as a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, willing to, verbally spar with one of the men
Yeah.
and, essentially say, nah, she's mine. I'm going to fight for her. When it has been made clear, at least it seems, a few times that Nola's like, nah, I'm good. We just friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all she wanted.
Right. So I definitely can see where that lack of communication and that like you need to know your audience essentially.
Mhm.
So, how you would speak to Mars, how you would speak to Greer, Jamie, and Opal all need to be very different. And something that you're saying to her is not landing.
And you know what? The thing that made me just think about Nola was no one was listening to her except for her roommate,
Mm-hmm.
because the men didn't listen to what she was wanting, as far as like, hey, I just want something casual. Opal didn't listen to her, like, this is not the lifestyle I live.
Yeah.
Only person that listened to her was her roommate, and the reason why I say her roommate listened to her was that she was accepting of how whatever lifestyle she was choosing to live. She just didn't want her to bring them home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
So
agree
I
100%.
feel like her voice wasn't being heard.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a little weird to me.
Throughout the film.
Yeah, she was. Like I get Opal. I get her wanting
Mm-hmm.
her. But it was almost like, okay, I want you so bad that I'm going to forget everything. I'm not going to pay attention to nothing you telling me, none of this other stuff. It's just about what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't never going to be okay.
Well, there's an element of that across the film as well, of selfishness,
Yeah.
in the people that are in Nola's life,
Definitely.
that they want what they want despite whatever she says or, kind of hints at or shows them. Like I want you in the way that I want you,
Mhm.
period, point blank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how this is not how relationships work
Anyway.
anyway, whether it's a friendship, whether it's family, whether it's romantic, Like you're not going to be able to have a person do the things that you want them to do 100% of the time, and you don't have to reciprocate some sort of patience or accommodation or whatnot.
Yeah, I agree.
I know.
It's just crazy. As much as people were judging her, they didn't realize who she really was at all. You know?
Mhm.
It's just like, okay, I'm doing essentially the same thing you doing, just in a different way that's more socially acceptable.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people tend to not be able to accept the reciprocation of their norm. They want you to just abide by, you know, okay,
Mhm.
we're supposed to be exclusive, but you're not being exclusive type of things, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was just thinking about how differently each of those men see her, how differently but the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
it's a weird kind of place to be. Like they all see you one way, but they all see you the same as well. So like Mars, right? So they all see her as a freak. I think that's like the common theme
Mm-hmm.
amongst all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of sees her as fun and something to conquest
Mhm.
or conquer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
And take care of him because
Yes.
Yeah.
Spike Lee's character, as well as the Afro Latino guy who plays in the series, there's very much this need to be taken care of, and it does go a different route in the series. It's more expanded,
Mhm.
but you just see him always um surface level. Like he's
Mhm.
not able to dig deep because maybe it's painful, maybe it's whatever. We don't know what's going on in Mars head. I don't think nobody, not even Mars, know what's going on in
Mhm.
Mars head.
Mhm.
But those times where he does have a moment to be vulnerable, he jokes or
Mm-hmm.
he's, playing the dozen, being petty or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then thinking about Greer,
Flash.
yes.
If I see this man one more time in the
know.
movie,
Okay, I
I
was like,
know.
oh, Flash.
Uh-huh.
That was the first thing I thought about when I
Yeah.
saw him.
Me too.
But he sees her as a trophy,
Yes.
because she's beautiful. She exudes this sort of like energy, like that
Mhm.
gravitates people to her.
Mm-hmm.
So, she's the trophy. I want you on my arm because you look good with me and I look good and we can do this thing together.
Girl.
But and nothing that she was doing was good enough. Why are you eating only that? Or why are you doing this? Why are you hanging out in Brooklyn? It's so beneath you. Sir, can you stop it?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his whole behavior, conversation, demeanor was unattractive to me.
Mm-hmm. Like Flash.
Yes. Yes.
He was consistent.
Yes.
Yes, it's been only a few movies where he has not been this character or a version of this character. I just be looking at him like, you cute now, but stop it.
It's kind of like I cannot remember his name. Oh, guy from Soul Food, Faith and Miles.
Oh.
I can't remember his real name.
Yeah, I know what you're
But
talking about.
he's that same.
Mm-hmm.
He has that
Michael
same
Beach?
kind of stigma on him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay.
No.
But he was all about the visuals.
Yes.
Just thinking about that one scene where they were about to engage in some, coitus, and it took him like
Girl.
Yeah, I would have been
15
asleep. Forget it. I'm getting ready to go cook.
15 minutes to get his clothes.
I would put my
off.
clothes back on
Yes.
and went back to working out or whatever they
Well,
were
they
doing
would
at that time.
because first of all, I was like, y'all nasty. Y'all didn't go take no shower because y'all sweat.
I mean, they wasn't really working out. I
know.
don't know what they was doing. Cherry pick.
I
That's what they
know.
would. I was like, I know this ain't working out, but
I know, but I
It's the
think
80s.
it was supposed to have been betrayed as like
Uh-huh.
they was
Yeah.
working out. So I was like, y'all nasty. That's y'all sweating. That's how people get STDs right there.
And
Shut up. You mean infection, not
I know, I
an
was
STD.
thinking
I
like
was like, girl,
infections.
no.
That's how your pH.
That's to me.
That's how your pH get thrown
that,
off.
Don't listen to her because she giving false information. That's not
That is gross.
We
to
promise
me.
we smart, y'all.
To me,
She out here
it's on that
wildin'.
level. To me, it's on that level.
But like, he took forever.
Girl,
He had to
fold
fold.
his shirt. What did he
Mm-mm.
have a shirt on? He had to fold. We're gonna say he had a shirt on. He had to fold the shirt,
The
His-
shorts.
the shorts, and it ain't a whole bunch of short back then.
No,
Right.
He folded his socks, he
everything.
put his shoes in order. I said, does this man have obsessive compulsive personality disorder or OCD?
I was
Obsessive
wondering the
compulsive-
same
was
thing
wondering
because
the
I was
same.
like, "Sir, this is
Yeah.
you supposed to be having a spontaneous moment right now, and you turning it into like almost a chore."
And then once they did become intimate, it was so much moving and flipping, and I know that's the way it was shot, but I was like,
It was a lot going on.
I
Yeah.
need his soul to settle.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was
There
like,
was a lot going on.
Right. It was. It was.
The only
Yeah.
time that she had like gentle love, ironically, was of course with Jamie
Mhm.
and Mars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it was very childlike.
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, he was very childlike. But even I would say Greer was too. It was just, like adulthood with the cloak. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, because the way in which he, once they actually started, the way he approached was not very,
Mature.
right, partner driven.
Yeah.
It was, again, very self serving.
I agree.
There's a lot of that in this film.
Very much so.
Mm.
And just because we are talking about all the men, also with the incident with Opal, her kind of like manipulating
Mm.
the kiss, she's in a sad state, a vulnerable state, and
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, no, I'm a X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna just lean in for, ma'am, that's not when you do that.
No.
No.
And you should know better.
Mhm.
If you
Yes.
really my friend, and I've told you several times that's not what I want from you or any of that, and have set the clear boundary, but you also know how important these men are to me. Why?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
And this would be a situation where if you cannot have what you want and you cannot make the adjustment to transition from that you want this person to they're communicating to you that they want to be a friend. If you cannot make that transition to being friends with them, then you need to leave that person alone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're setting a boundary and being very clear with you. And if that's not how you roll or what your vibe is, it's okay. Like, it's okay to be like,
Definitely.
you know what? I want more from
Mhm.
you than you are able to give me. And that's too hurtful. So I'm going to exit the relationship.
Yeah.
And then you go grieve and heal and move on with your life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't keep trying to pursue something that's not wanted.
No, because it's
Exactly.
the same thing that we've talked about before when it's a man doing this. And it's like a
Mhm.
wolf in sheep's clothing. You're just waiting to pounce on this person when they've already put you in the friend zone. And we don't mean like there's chemistry there and maybe y'all are just waiting or something like that. No, we're talking about people who genuinely do not want to date the other person. They have absolutely no interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that is so it's a low level form of coercion is
Mhm.
what it is. Coercion is coercion, but it's a milder form of it.
Yeah, I would agree. Mm-mm-mm. So, as you guys can tell, us our old individuals that are used to the MMB, we are not going scene by scene.
We can't.
This movie, I don't even know if it's possible to do that for this
No,
film.
we
It
would be
wouldn't even.
tied.
I don't even know if it would make sense.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was thinking about is like that whole when we do the switch over from black and white to color,
Mhm.
and that dance scene with the birthday. And how it's kind of about her.
The
And
only time.
yeah,
Mhm.
and which is why I like why this scene is in color,
Yeah.
because now I wish we could speak to Spike Lee and see why he did black and white for the rest of the film. But I definitely think that it shows like there is life in her, life about her, and that there is a beauty that doesn't get seen.
Yeah. This is also where the song Nola is played in the film, and the dancers are dancing to it. Which, if y'all don't know, Spike Lee's father, Bill Lee, actually composed the entire score for
Mm.
this. He is actually playing the instruments that he is playing in the film. Like,
That's
he
awesome.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
did
Whole
not.
talented family.
I was just curious. I
Mhm.
didn't realize his father was a musician.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, and you wouldn't, because his name is Bill Lee, so you would just assume that's some white dude or whatever.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
you're like, "No, that's that boy daddy."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I do appreciate that Spike Lee always has an attention to art and
Mhm.
multiple forms of art, because if you've seen any of his other films, he has a heavy correlation to music
Mm.
in his films as well as dance.
Yeah.
You know, because my favorite Spike Lee joint is School Days.
Oh, mine too.
Because they be in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I have two. School Days and Jungle Fever. Those are my two
See, I
favorite.
like Jungle Fever too. But yeah, I can definitely appreciate this scene being in color. One, because it's dance, and I want to see the movements. But then two, I like that he showed that it's more to her
Mhm.
Yeah.
than what they're showing and what they're saying. Like,
Mhm.
and hopefully, I'm hoping that that was one of those scenes that she was able to see there's more to me as well.
And
Mm.
Jamie was the only person who was considerate, had the forethought to really think about, what she would like.
Mhm.
It wasn't about, okay, let me take you to an expensive restaurant, or let me call you at the butt crack of dawn or almost dawn and be like, let me just come over.
Mhm.
No, it was like, I really had to get this music made for you. I had to give the music to the dancers for them to choreograph something and then set up the space. Like, it was really thoughtful.
Yeah, it was well thought out and put
Mhm.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of the only ones that really attempted to court
Mhm.
Yes.
her.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
He fought for her. He really did. Of course, he made
Towards the
some
end,
mistake
yeah, towards the
at
end, he
the
started,
end,
yeah.
but he did fight for her, and the problem was he just didn't know when he needed to walk away to save himself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because it probably would have been very clear early on,
Mhm.
if you're really paying attention. This is
Yeah.
one of those things, like when I'm talking with my clients about pay attention to your experience.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't go searching for behavior from other people,
No.
but pay attention to what you're experiencing, because that will give you the indication on whether to keep going, whether to, like, you know what, I'm good. That's it.
Mhm.
Because I'm looking at what I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm, you know, feeling, seeing, hearing, smelling, all of those things.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
keeps you grounded.
You know, something that happened a little bit before this scene that was kind of profound to me is that Mars, given a psychoanalysis, I don't know why he was doing it, but he made the statement that he believes that Nola has a lot of sex because she has issues with her father. And that's kind of where Spike Lee segues into Sonny Darling, which is Nola Darling's father, and he goes into great detail about how she was embraced as a child and she was loved through everything. She was encouraged to pursue the things that she loved and liked, from mother and father. She grew up in a two-parent home. She was exposed to the arts, to everything. So this is not one of those situations where she has
Daddy
a
issues.
daddy wound or a
Right.
father wound or a mother
Mhm.
wound. Now, you can still have those even if you grow up in a very good lifestyle, of course. But based off of what we're seeing, this is genuinely she wants to be in some form of a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah.
And this is just something that's really not heard of for women in the 1980s.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I think another thing that he also mentioned was that he didn't say she gets bored easily, but that she likes to have variety.
Mhm.
For her, variety truly is the spice of life.
Mm-hmm.
And she carries that through all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, she's consistent.
Since birth.
Yes.
And she and in that montage of scenes, she talks about how there are just certain things that she's not going to do because she doesn't want to give the effort. The things that are most important to her, she gives the effort to that. Now
Mhm.
we would say that she has a little bit of a commitment issue, but in the film she is true to what is being described. In the series it's a little bit different, and she really did have some commitment issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does it like if she was one of our clients, I would want to understand where that commitment issue came from, because obviously she grew up in a two-parent home. But this is a situation where she grew up in a two-parent home. So one, I would want to know, like, even though you grew up in a two-parent home, how were your parents interacting? But then
Mhm.
I would also want to know your first heartbreak as well. Like when how who hurt you first? Because that would also be an indicator of why she has issues with commitment.
Mhm.
And I think for Nola, and I'm taking a stab at this based off of the movie, not the series. I believe her issue is that she does not have consequences because her family provided a great safety net.
Mhm.
That is fine, that's fantastic, but at some point the safety net does need to be removed, and then you just support when support is needed. And because of that, there is a lack of other awareness and how she impacts people.
Mm.
So I think if she it's the same thing we talked about, you need to know when you need to get out. It's the same thing for Nola. When you see that these men are wanting something that you're unwilling to give, you also need to get out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Whew, that's a lot there.
ain't
Mhm.
it?
You know, and this is also where we start to see Jamie's breakdown too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is the beginning, I would say the beginning of the end for him, because frustration is starting to build. Again, he has these expectations and the desires of her, and they're not getting met.
Mhm.
So at some point a person does get tired. And when you have, we've talked about this before, when you have unresolved feelings and they are not being validated, they will turn into frustration and anger. And that's what's starting to happen with him.
Mhm.
And as that feeling continues to sit there, it starts to externalize. You know, it kind of starts internally, and then you begin to, now I'm actually upset with you, and I'm going to say and do things towards you, which is what you start to begin to see with Jamie, like when he's calling her back to back to back, and she's not answering the phones, because y'all know this is well before the days of cell phone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like well before the
In
days
fact,
of
I
cell
think the
phone.
person that puts it off the hook is Mars because they're being intimate. Because this is doing their sex scene, which was, like we said earlier, so immature. It's
Yes.
infantile, is what I will say.
Mhm. I mean, it is some comic relief
It
for a
is.
very artsy film.
Mhm.
So I do appreciate, Spike Lee inserting some
Mhm.
of that in there,
Yeah.
because I do think that is necessary too.
Yeah.
But we also start to see Greer's breakdown beginning as well,
Mhm.
of his accusations of
Talking to her crazy.
talking to her crazy, and accuses her of being a sex addict.
Which
And want
shook
her
her.
to go to therapy,
Yeah. Which she
which she
did.
did.
I think the therapist's name was Dr. Jameson or Jamison. I don't know which one, but
Mhm.
Dr. Jameson. And she actually confirmed that there is nothing wrong with Nola Darling. She is a liberated woman. She saw her weekly, once a week, and now she did, end the sessions abruptly, as most clients do, which
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah,
Mhm.
y'all be terminating.
But
Mhm.
she said, we're looking at it in the wrong light. She has a healthy sex drive that women probably have always had, but have been fearful to show due to, persecution
Or
or
being confused with sickness.
sickness.
Hysteria.
And it is Dr. Jameson.
Okay. So, she confirmed, and I'm apt to agree with the doctor
Mhm.
versus these random men.
I would agree too. I didn't see anything, I hate to use the word wrong, but I didn't see anything
Mm-mm.
wrong with her either. She's a young woman,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
She's single.
single. She's not hurting anybody. She's being very open. She's doing all of the things that people say they want.
Yes, and everybody knows about everybody.
Right.
There's no hiding anything.
No, y'all there when y'all call. Y'all
She
she
pick
say,
up,
and
yeah.
when she pick up, she say who it is. Oh, it's just Mars. Oh, that's Jamie.
Because even Mars, oh, is Jamie there?
Yes.
Look, I mean, y'all might as well be brother husbands at this point.
Right.
'Cause
Because
She tried.
I was finna say, yes, that whole what was it?
Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Man. I thought Greer was gonna have a whole mantrum.
He was having a mantra.
He was. Because when you have, again, we're not going to say this man had a narcissistic personality, because I do think that that's starting to get overused nowadays. But he did have some tendencies.
Yeah.
He had some arrogant tendencies.
Yeah.
And he believed that he should have been
The only one there.
Well, you see where he's at. He's at the head of the table.
Mhm.
Well, technically, Nola is at the head of the table, but he is opposite her.
Mhm.
So he thinks very highly of himself, very highly.
And just the way he spoke to both of them.
Oh God.
And Jamie wasn't having none of. He was like, "I'm about to eat this food she cooked."
And I'm going to focus on her.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is the consistent theme amongst the three of these men.
And he seemed, because even though they were in the situation they were in, he seemed to be the most calm.
Yeah. And Mars is acting a fool as usual. I mean, he does try to make her laugh, and actually says that at the dinner or whatever. But Nola got to be a bold woman to be like, I'm going to bring all three of my boyfriends, because I consider them her boyfriend, all three of my boyfriends to Thanksgiving dinner. And we are going to play Scrabble, and we're going to sit around. We're going to be all in the bed together at different points. I was just like, okay, Nola.
But even within all that, they are sitting at the table thinking they can flip a coin.
Yes.
And that's who I'm gonna be with.
And who was
as
in the
if
bed
I'm
with
not
her?
sitting right here. The one that wasn't partaking of the coin flip.
Exactly. Yep. I thought that was very to me, it was very noticeable of who she would have been with if she wanted that.
Oh, I agree 100%. Because Greer wasn't even touching the bed. You in the chair. Mars was at the foot like a child, trying to get into the bed. But the quote unquote the mommy and the daddy laid
That's
up,
exactly how I saw
hugged
it. Yep.
up,
looking comfortable.
Yep.
He got his ankles crossed, probably was doing his toes like this. Just chilling.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, I agree with you 100%. That's probably who she would have chose if she was in the headspace to want a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
Completely made sense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so weird how these men are so different but the same at the same time. It boggles my mind. Good job, Spike.
Yeah, your
Mr.
mind is
Spike Lee.
brilliant. Your
Yeah.
mind is brilliant, because really what it boils down to when you look at these men is that they are parts of a whole. They're the pieces that she needed, but they're just not all in one person.
Yeah, and I think, didn't Greer say that? Or one of them said that. I can't remember if it was
Somebody,
Greer. Yeah.
it was probably Jamie, but yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, I do remember one of them saying that. It was kind of like in the voiceover kind of deal. But it is true. There are elements of that where she did try to create, like, build a man.
Yeah.
You got build a bear, let's build a man.
Yeah, she tried.
But it just don't work that way.
No.
And if anybody's ever been in a polyamorous relationship, there's a lot of boundaries, lots of communication, because you have so many different personalities coming together with different wants and different needs, and different hopes and expectations.
And you want to be respectful of that. If that is a lifestyle that you're going to live, you want to be respectful of people, because it's not about hurting folks. Even if, say, one of the relationship has a degradation kink, y'all are still talking about that, and it's not from a place of I'm trying to harm you. It's I'm trying to give you the things that you want in this manner. So I just think a lot of time People are not going to understand a polyamorous lifestyle because they don't even do these things in a monoamorous lifestyle.
Baby.
Yeah.
Jesus. So what do y'all think about the part where, she's having the dream and the women show up and they like blaming her, like, you took my man, you took my man. And it's
I
like a
think
little
it's
mini nightmare.
guilt. I think it's guilt because she realizes how it's impacting the men.
Mm.
I think that's what's going on. Not that her actions themselves are wrong, but the way in which she's going about it now, this has gone too far and this is not having a healthy reaction in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was an indicator that like she knew at this point that all three of those men wanted something monogamous from her. And she wasn't giving it to them.
Mm-hmm. And I think there was a little bit of foreshadowing in there as well. Because Jamie actually did tell her he was seeing somebody else.
The dancer.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
It's the dancer.
That's right. That was after she had that dream after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I think there's also that realization that people are not going to wait either.
No. And you shouldn't. Unless you want to.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is when she starts to kind of confuse herself a little bit. Because she starts eventually trying to pursue Jamie and tell him that she loves him and she wants him to talk to her and see her and things like that, which is understandable because you have, again, in a polyamorous situation, if everything has not been outlined amongst all the parties, there's going to be these weird mix-ups and confusions. And I think this is what kind of started happening after she had this dream with her and Jamie. Greer also asks her to go to the Caribbean with him. And she said, no, my guy.
And see, I think to me, I agree with you with the dream, but I also think that when he asked her that was a light switch for her. Like, I don't want to go nowhere with you.
No, I wouldn't want to go with him anyway.
Right.
It's gonna take 11 years to do anything. I don't know how he's a model.
Yeah.
Girl, on somebody else's dime in the 80s and you black? No, I don't.
Right. I think that was her indicator. Like, I don't even want. I don't know if I'm able to stand you for a whole week.
Well, she said that.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
She said, I can't be nowhere with you for 2 weeks. I love her honesty.
Yes.
Because if you can't say nothing about Nola throughout this film, she is honest.
Yep.
And she was very straight up with Greer, like, nah, I can't be nowhere with you for 2 weeks.
His little feelings was hurt. He was like, oh, you just gonna be like that? Yes. Yeah. I'll think about it.
But this is where now the breakdown of the men is really starting to happen here. Like, if there was a crescendo, this would be we're heading towards the crescendo because all of the relationships are going through their strife, their own version of it, but they are going through their strife.
Yeah.
In particular, really Nola and Jamie.
Yeah,
that was hard.
That was. I think that one, because the other two, to me, you should just let them go anyway. But Jamie, I was like, oh man, he getting ready to get hurt, and I understand. Like, she still told him from the beginning, but him thinking that he could change her.
Yeah, and I think he owed it to himself to really not go back after he left and he got with Ava. And I appreciate Ava for saying, once you leave, I'm not going to be here when you come back. Because she was like, I'm not doing this with you and Nola. Because it's already messy. I was a dance at a birthday party a couple of months ago. But then, for Nola to try to smooth that situation over with sex, which then turned into an assault by the one person you thought would never assault her.
Right.
And for him to admit he
had never done that before.
Never done it, but no, he got off on it.
Oh, yeah.
And then, let me rephrase that. He didn't see anything wrong with the way he treated her in that moment. At that time. He later apologized for it, but it's such a sad way for them to devolve.
Yeah. And it's because the thing he actually said, because I wrote this down because I thought that was an interesting way to say it to her. He said,
Mhm.
I'm trying to dog you the best way I can, but the worst part is I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, can you imagine like the mental gymnastics and all the things that are flowing through, this individual's head at that
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. Because you know the regular him is not like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the hurt him,
It came out.
yeah.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You got a bunch of unresolved, unvalidated feelings.
Yeah.
And for him, he's like, they got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they came out that way.
Yeah.
And the sad part about it is his feelings are hurt because of her. So he took it out on the person that hurt his feelings instead of taking it out. Taking it out on anybody is bad, but I'm glad he didn't take it out on Ava.
Yeah. He should have just dealt with what he was going through and processed it, dealt with his heartbreak.
Yeah.
And this scene is also a great example of what typically happens in partner related assault is the person being assaulted doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They just take it.
Freeze.
Yeah, they freeze.
Yeah.
And so it's not violent the way a lot of people see. Now there is some violent ones that have occurred in the
Right.
course of history, yes. But this is one of the ways, like people would not classify this as an assault for some people, but this is an assault.
Mm-hmm.
This is a rape. Nola calls it that when they meet up later. So this is a visual example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Agreed. So then after this, we're getting to the tail end of the movie. Nola goes to visit her old roommate, Clorinda, and they have, because it's been a long time since they've seen each other, so they kind of have their little powwow and I'll almost say makeup session on kind of what happened and what they want to do from there.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated that they were able to still maintain
Mhm.
some version of friendship and that they were able to kind of look at, okay, so what went wrong? But we're okay now. I love you. I miss you, but it's okay for us to be in the place that we're at.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As well.
Yeah.
But that was it. There wasn't much on that scene.
No. No.
Okay, so then now we get to the point where I'm gonna say Clorinda, but Nola, she getting she purging
everything, the bedroom, the men, and I appreciated that she cleansed her space of all that built up energy between all them people, including Opal. So she needed to clear her space, especially because it's not like she has a bedroom; she's in a studio.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of soul ties flying around in there.
Yeah.
So I did like that, and that she went to each individual man and made her case.
Yeah.
And let them know, like, hey, we good. I'm done. This is the reason I'm done. And Greer didn't respond too well.
No,
He lashed out. Like an arrogant person would, because you hurt my feelings.
And he'll probably be back talking to her, knowing him. Yeah.
Oh, of course. She does the same thing with Mars, and I think Mars would be an easy relationship for her to maintain. Like as far as friends is concerned, I think
Because they seem like they were just friends anyway. That just so happened to be friends with benefits.
Yeah.
And also for all of y'all who don't know, the classic phrase "baby, baby, baby, please" actually comes from Mars's character.
Baby, please, baby, baby, please.
Yeah, so that's where that come from.
Yeah, not Martin.
Right?
Not Martin or Dwayne Wayne.
So she gets to Jamie, and this is probably the more difficult one, because she does let him know that she does love him.
Yeah.
Now, whether she is in love with this man or she just loves him deeply, I think there is argument to be made there. But she does let him know that she loves him, and like he is/was her person. But he's like, no. And she took it like a G. She was like, all right, okay.
Yeah, and I don't blame him, because you have I chose to get out of character with you.
Mhm.
And I have caused harm because I was hurt. And now I got to live with that. Like, I have to remember that I did that to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's what you pull out of me, I don't want no parts of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a important key to remember when you're dealing with people just in general. Like if this person is pulling you out of character,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be paying attention to that
Mm-hmm.
because something has gone off the rails somewhere. And it'll have you looking at yourself once the dust settles, it'll have you looking at yourself in a whole different light.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And this is when we have clients that come in and say, I don't know how I got caught up in, and then XYZ.
Because it becomes more important being in the relationship and keeping the person than staying true to who you are and your beliefs, values, morals, all of that kind of stuff. Like you can't change who you are. And we're all guilty of having been in some type of relationship where that
Mhm.
happens
Yeah.
and, wanting to be chosen and fighting, being the ride or die that we all three hate. But that's just not healthy. It's not healthy at all.
Yeah. But they do the classic, Disney thing, or make you believe the classic Disney thing is gonna happen where, he says, okay, come on, girl, come on
I'm just
over here.
playing.
I'm
Come
just
back.
come on, girl. You know you want this. Come on over here. And seems like, of course, they don't show this in the film, but it seems like they tried it for a little while, but then Nola realizes, no, this is not what I want. And I'm going to live my life the way I see fit. And she finally kind of comes to terms with, I am polyamorous.
Mm.
And that's all right. And the people that get with me going to have to be okay with it. They're going to have to be
And they
polyamorous
show
too.
up.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. I was like,
Yeah.
see, that's a healing journey. That's an arc.
That's how it should be,
Mhm.
and you still have room to grow because nobody is saying that Nola is perfect because she's not.
No.
But you see the transition through all of that.
Mhm.
And because I think it would be important for her to talk about if she is going to be poly, like, okay, why? Why do you want to be this way? Why do you know what I mean? And not because she needs to give an answer, but because so that she's not feeling insecure in it.
Mhm. If she's challenged again.
Exactly.
Because she will
Absolutely.
be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely will be.
Because it's a very particular lifestyle that has way different operating rules than a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
And people that are truly monogamous and dabbling in polyamory are going to struggle. So she will be challenged heavily, and her boundaries will be tested. The communication breakdowns are going to be heavy. So I agree, being solid in this is my lifestyle and I know what that means and I'm going to operate as such.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So, what is y'all's rating of the movie?
Mhm.
And then we'll jump into, the diagnoses and analysis.
Gotcha. For me, I give it a solid 3.
Okay.
I think it's a good middle of the road kind of film. I think if this was I think the show is way better than the movie.
Yeah, it expands on so much with each character.
Yeah, so if
Even
I was
the
right,
best friend.
so if I was rating the show, I would give the show a 5. But the movie, I would say a 3.
It's a 1 for me. I like what they were trying to show and the story, but it just didn't elaborate enough for me. So I didn't like it.
Gotcha. I would probably give it like a 3.5 or a 4 because I like different movies. Now, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna watch She's Gotta Have It all the time, but for its time, uh, being done by a Black director who was also acting in the movie and putting so many pieces of pertinent information about Brooklyn that time, I enjoyed it, and I enjoy that Spike Lee does a different visual spin on anything that he does. Even in the the series, it's all color. It's
Mhm.
bright. It's super um focused on the colors of things, when colors shift, when she goes through her spiritual awakening.
The
So
pacing.
the pacing.
Mhm.
So you can tell that he stays on par with the times. So when I looked at this film, I tried to put my brain back in 1986. I was only 3, but I tried to put my brain back there and how that would have looked. And it's kind of similar to when we watched Sparkle.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even though that film was shot for a
Yeah.
different period, but it still had that same kind of
Mhm.
walking through the mud feel
Yeah.
and not as much information development
Mhm.
of the story. So
I would agree with that. I would agree with both of you.
mhm. What about character analysis or diagnoses?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with Jamie.
Jamie.
Jamie. I don't know if he has a diagnosis in my mind. I think he probably has some insecurities. And if he didn't coming in, he did going out.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I can see if he didn't have codependency issues before, I could see them developing over time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he ends the movie being a perpetrator as well as probably having some trauma of his own from the incident. So
Yeah,
you have that there.
absolutely.
Greer.
Mm.
He's definitely bordering on
Mhm.
narcissistic personality disorder. I don't know if he's full blown diagnosis, but he's definitely got traits. He's in that good old cluster B.
Some sort of anxiety.
Mhm.
It may either be OCPD or OCD and or general anxiety.
I would agree with that.
I agree. I agree. He's a very harsh man though. Harsh and beautiful at the same time. Those tend to
Yeah,
be one and the same in that industry. So
agreed.
Mars.
Mars.
He deflected a lot.
Yeah. I would say some insecurities
Yeah.
that are being covered up with humor.
He almost comes across as having like a Oedipus Electra complex situation.
I ain't heard that in a long time.
I know it's super
Yeah.
old. We don't use it no more. But he got a little.
I can definitely see
He the one seem like he got a mother wound.
I was gonna say I can definitely see Oedipus.
Yeah.
I can completely see that.
Yes.
And he has a failure to launch. This wouldn't be like a
Diagnosis.
diagnosis, more like a
Observation.
observation. But he's struggling with who he is and what he actually brings. Financially, physically, he has a lot that
On
he's
some
got to
phase
work
of
on.
life stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything with Opal or Clorinda?
Yeah, not diagnosis.
Yeah. I think for Opal, I just think she would have to, if she was coming to therapy, I would say she would probably need to work on like her socialization, like not being aggressive.
And understanding no.
No
Yeah.
means no.
And boundaries.
Yeah, like receiving boundaries.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when we work with clients, we work with them on setting boundaries
Yeah.
and enforcing boundaries. She needs to learn on receiving them.
Yeah. Yeah.
She got a touch of narcissism in her too. Yeah. And I think Clorinda is just Clorinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't
Just
enough about her.
Yeah, we only saw her in 2 scenes. So.
Yeah. And what about Nola Darling?
So I wouldn't necessarily say she has a diagnosis, but I would want her to work on being more secure.
Yeah. Communicating needs, communicating wants, based off the person you're dealing with. Because even though you think you're being clear and being effective, each person is going to take what you say differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely being firm in her boundaries and knowing when to walk away instead of just saying, "Oh, this is gonna be okay. Imma stay," because she should have been really the only relationships that she probably would have been able to stay in for a little bit of time is the one with Mars because he was willing to just accept anything. He did a lot of smack talking behind her back,
He
but
did.
none of that stuff was to her face, and she wouldn't have known it if it wasn't being filmed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But other stuff started breaking down with the other 2 guys,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well as Opal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Well, that's February.
Yes. Y'all wanna let them know what we're jumping into for March?
Yes. So, you know how a little bit earlier we were talking about how if feelings are not dealt with, they turn into anger and frustration. Well, we just gonna carry that theme right on over to
Mhm.
next month. We're gonna,
Accidentally.
you know,
Yeah.
so we're gonna talk all about anger, how it manifests, how what happens with it, why it's there, what you can do about it, and the movie of the month is gonna be Low Down Dirty Shame.
Shame.
Uh, uh. Dun, 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 dun. I forgot all the words just that quick.
It's all right. We'll get them when we do the
Yeah.
the mood music for next month.
Yes.
So y'all always know we end off with a quote.
Today's quote is brought to you by Nola Darling. She's Gotta Have It, 1986. It's really about control. My body, my mind. Who was going to own it? Them or me? I'm not a one-man woman, bottom line.